ties between some of the countries that the U.S. has been sanctioning over the years are beginning to develop, providing a network that helps to counter the effects of the sanctions and that in fact is helping to build a new global order. For more on that, we spoke with Mark Sleboda, senior lecturer at Moscow State University on international relations, from Moscow via Skype on Monday. Mark, we're looking at the consequences of years of the U.S. sanctioning this country and that country, seeing as the multipolar world rises, a whole patchwork of relationships among sanctioned nations who all have nothing to lose by breaking the sanctions with each other. So maybe we can talk about this one very important one that's shaping up between Russia and Iran. Iran recently ascending to the SCO, to the Shanghai Cooperative Organization, and being accused of a military partnership with Russia.
I think this is one of the more important multipolar relationships in the world today. Headlining, of course, is how the U.S. has pushed Russia and China together. But just below that in importance is how much the U.S. pressure on these countries has also pushed Russia and Iran and China and Iran together to a level of cooperation when we're considering that governments have very different political systems, very different civilization, cultures, religions, but they're finding common cause as an alliance of resistance. And the U.S., from a realist, international relations, foreign policy perspective, is being very, very stupid or hubristic,
right,
and arrogance in picking fights with all of these at the same time, giving them the extra impetus towards common cause, militarily, economically, politically, rather than a more traditional divide and conquer. And I would have to say that it's part ideology, the exceptionalism that lends itself to thinking that they don't have to compromise. They don't have to do realpolitik because they are morally and politically superior, and actually to do that would dirty themselves. They don't need to. Well, this is playing out. And while the Sino-Soviet split of a different foreign policy era may have helped, win the Cold War such as it was, that is not being done today. And even Kissinger at the time said, this is great, but in 20 years, we'll have to do the opposite and ally with Russia against China.
Right.
It was 30 years and the U.S. isn't doing it all, but and the same thing is playing out in Iran. And both Russia and China have now formed what even the U.S. has characterized as unprecedented strategic partnership with Iran. And it has accelerated very much in the last year. And particularly, there's two events that have brought them very close together. One is under fire in Syria, where they were both fighting U.S. and GCC-backed jihadis in the country together, Al Qaeda, ISIS, and the powers that supported them. And also they got to see, they worked hand in hand with each other's military. Russia got to see how the cheap but effective drones and ballistic missiles that Syria was using and had developed on their own. Not only were they cheap and effective, but they were built all with technology that allowed them to get around U.S. sanctions.
Syria or Iran? You said Syria.
Yeah, Iran.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in Syria.
Gotcha.
They saw this. As the conflict with Russia started and NATO, started pouring in the weapons to an unprecedented degree, Russia's like, we need more cruise missiles, we need more drones, and we need to be able to produce them at high quantity, cheaply despite Western sanctions, and that has led to the arrangement where Iran agreed with Russia to give them, basically a sample batch, but more importantly, the designs and the right to manufacture a domestically modified version of the Shahed 136. It's called a loitering munition, a drone, a kamikaze drone. But what Russia is really using it as a cheap but effective long-range cruise missile to supplement their own supplies. And it has proved extremely effective in the tasks it is being used, as Russia has a range of such drones. And so this isn't a one-size-fits-all answer, but it's a useful addition to the toolbox that Russia has. And now Iran has evidently doing the same with some other drones, slightly more advanced models called the Rash 2, but also some of their ballistic missile models. Again, Russia finds that they're cheap, effective, and they can be mass produced, completely going around sanctions. Now, meanwhile, what Iran is getting from Russia is their most advanced fighter stealth aircraft, the fourth and fifth gen fighter aircraft, including the Su-35. And Western media reports, including the Washington Post, quoting anonymous officials about the big, scary military partnership, unprecedented and growing, they mention advanced air defense, which can only mean the S-400 air system, because Russia has already given Iran the S-300. And there is nothing that the U.S., with its desire to always having the ability to bomb and conduct cruise missile strikes any country in the world at any time that it wants, that's the way it does war. It refers to these type of systems as anti-access area denial, A2AD. And the S-400 is the king of that, which is why Russia has already supplied these systems to China, to Iran, even to Turkey, which really infuriated the United States and led them to sanction Turkey over it. But it appears likely that Iran may now get them as well. And the S-300 is already a more formidable air defense system than the Patriot. So Iran already had it, and they're going to be getting more. The U.S. is very upset about this. So they immediately announced they were going to conduct more sanctions on both of them, like that is going to do anything. But also they said, we're going to stop their maritime trade, because the U.S. has resorted to this multiple times, particularly with Iran, but outright piracy, seizing their ships at sea under the jurisdiction of their illegal unilateral sanctions against the countries. But maybe the U.S. didn't notice this fact. Their geography is not their strong point, but the Caspian Sea lies between Russia and Iran. What do you get? It's a landlocked body of water. What is the U.S. going to teleport the Fifth Fleet in? So going from a Washington Post warning about the partnership unprecedented and growing, we now have Bloomberg warning about Russia and Iran are building trade route that defies sanctions. Yes, because geography.
That's right.
This is a north-south trade corridor, it's being called, and Russia and Iran are spending tens of billions of dollars to improve the transit, to allow use of the Volga River canals that would basically also connect the Caspian and the Black Seas out of this. And it is completely impossible for the U.S. to interdict trade along this route, which is what has them so worried. And further, it will go down into India as well. That's where it's being extended down to. And it will shave thousands of kilometers off of normal maritime trade. So not only is it defying the U.S. ability to attack trade between Russia and Iran, but it is also a logistical improvement that is cutting thousands of kilometers and time off trade journeys as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation.
And we're looking at that. We're looking at that in the context of the huge deals that are being cut between India and Russia, and in their own currencies. And we got to come back to this next week. Mark, thank you so much, and we'll speak with you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.